Hello. Works. Good morning. All right. I got to remember to keep this. Please yell at me if I don't keep this up to my mouth. All right. Firstly, I'm Travis Henderson, Director of Procurement Services and Materials Management within Finance and Operations. P-Card 101, what you need to know. This is not a training course. This is a high-level overview of what a P-Card is, what changes have been made recently to the university's P-Card program, and a few resources that we'll share with you at the end that you can reference, or also how you can reach out to us if you have questions in the future. We'll go, like I said, we go over some of the topics I've mentioned, what a P-Card is, what the benefits of a P-Card are versus some of the other methods of remittance or purchasing, some of the changes recently put in place, some tips and best practices and FAQs that have come out of this change, or just ones that were always good tips and best practices and frequently asked questions that we've seen in the past. We'll go over some of the key allowable and non-allowable purchases. Sometimes that's cause for confusion. Maybe it hasn't been communicated so great in the past, or maybe it just hasn't been absorbed. People didn't know necessarily where to look. So this isn't all, it won't be all of the allowable and non-allowable. It's some of the more common ones or ones that we've made changes to our policy recently. And then, as I mentioned, we'll share a few resources with you. Presenting with me today are Celeste Nelson, who is our P-Card Redeployment Project Manager, and Hua Shen, who's the University P-Card Program Administrator. Hua and Celeste work for Jessica Wong Strickland, who's the Director of Procurement Services Operations in my organization. All right, what is a P-Card? I know some of you may be very well aware what a P-Card is, some may not. So we wanted to at least set the groundwork for the entire audience really quickly. A P-Card could also be known as a purchasing card or a procurement card. I've heard it referred to as both procurement and purchasing card in the past. It's a UNC liable credit card used for business expenses. It is not individually liable in any way unless one were to use their card for something they shouldn't have for personal reasons, like they wanted a TV for their family room, right? So as long as the purchases are for legitimate business expenses, there's no impact to anyone's credit. No one has your social security number. And that sort of stuff. So there's no individual liability in any sense unless you are misusing your card for things that aren't for university business purpose, okay? Traditionally, the P-Card is primarily geared towards low value purchases. In our case, primarily purchases that are lower than $5,000. $5,000 is a magic number. Many of you are aware that the state dictates that anything greater than $5,000, there has to be some level of competition or benchmarking done on pricing, and it has to go through the purchasing team within my organization in most cases, okay? And then, of course, these need to be in allowable categories as well for things that cannot be made on ePro, okay? So I'm going to give you some exceptions, and hopefully this doesn't open the floodgates, but if there's a need for something today that we know that Staples can't get you today because it's just not possible, and we place the order today, it's probably not going to show up today, then, you know, if it's business critical, university business critical, then someone could utilize their P-Card and run out to Walmart or Staples store or whatever for that good, okay? Hopefully we're planning a little bit better than that, and we can order what we need via the ePro catalogs. We have really good rates. We have with those vendors and that sort of thing. But a P-Card can allow you a little bit of flexibility in some unforeseen circumstances, okay? But we would prefer to use our ePro vendors as much as possible for those types of items less than 5K. And then from a reconciliation perspective, transactions are reconciled by either, depending on how each card is set up, by the cardholder or a group proxy reconciler, someone who's acting on their behalf within the system to upload receipt into the tool, to add any detail that's required, purchase detail, as well as add a business justification. Okay, so that's at a high level the definition of the P card and how it works at UNC. Okay. All right, some of the benefits. Operational savings, and this is low, I've seen it much higher than this, of $50 to $70 per transaction. That's not hard cash, that's operational cost. How much time it takes to route, whether it's a purchase order or in some respects, maybe a little bit on the lower end of that estimate would be like a campus voucher through the system. From the time someone, the requester, either does it themselves or submits it to a business office, and then comes through central offices and then gets paid throughout the AP process. $50 to $70 per transaction. I wanted to put the next line just for kind of scope here. 122,000 transactions, less than $250, not less than 5,000, just less than $250 were processed by the university last year on campus vouchers. To be fair, some of those are payments to individuals. I don't take P card personally, but a lot of that are payments to vendors that we know accept card, and we are using an inefficient process to pay those vendors. If we're buying, if we're using Panera for a catering event and it's a very small department event and it's $150, and then we add on top of that another $50 to $70 in operational costs, doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Example I had in my previous employer is we were buying business cards for $5 to $10 a box, and people were putting those on PO. That's PO is even higher than the $70 range. That's a lot of wasted effort, right? And then eventually we transitioned to a P card program and moved, flowers and business cards and office supplies and that sort of thing to P card environment. Ease of use. It should be, by design, it should be easier to use the P card than our campus voucher or PO process. We get through using P card, if the vendors provide this level of detail, and many of them do, we get access to more enriched data for our purchases, whether it's line item data or just the simple vendor data that we can report on within purchasing and accounts payable, but also everyone across campus within their units can report on what's going on within their units as well. And then within purchasing and AP, we can work on, okay, well, gosh, we spent a lot of money with vendor XYZ. We don't have a contract with them. Maybe we could look at putting something in place where it doesn't impact everyone else on campus, aside from hopefully get them a little bit either better service or better price. So it'll allow us to analyze that information and hopefully deliver better service and costs for the university. And then lastly, it impacts campus as well as the AP team, but reduced vendor master record management. Many of you on campus are involved in this, especially on the campus voucher side, where you have to work with your vendor partners that's not going through the PO process to get them set up as a vendor, or have them, if they change their address or billing, invoice remit address or their banking information, through a big major process to get that updated, right? And there's also opportunity for fraud there. We're not responsible for maintaining the vendor master records for any vendors that are going through P card. The bank is responsible for that. So if we're paying a vendor one time, think about all the effort for a vendor that we haven't used before, all the effort it takes just to get a vendor set up so we can make a one-time PO or voucher payment request, and then we either never use them again or use them once a year. That's a lot of effort. Whereas if they take card and we use our card, we can do it much more efficiently. Okay. All right, Celeste is going to walk you through some of the recent P-card program changes. And before I forget, we have at the end, I don't want to, we have a slide that has resources and it has hyperlinks on there. That doesn't do you a lot of good right now. We also didn't want to write out the web address because it would have been too much to write down. So it's my understanding that these slides will be made available to attendees later, but if you need this deck sooner, please reach out to the email address, which is really easy to write down and remember, and we'll get this deck emailed to you. Okay, Celeste?
Thank you. You can click it. We're just trying to decide on who's going to do the clicking. That's probably the most important question of the day. But I am Celeste Nelson. It's like, ooh, that's Celeste. Yes, I have spoken probably to the majority of you in this room. And at this point, you may think I'm the works guru. Those I haven't spoken to, you are going to find out during Q&A, just if that's an accurate description. So what I am going to talk about today really is the objective of the redeployment project. And so really it was to add some system enhancements and increase flexibility to the overall P-card program. And to do that, procurement decided to introduce Works, which is a new reconciliation tool that replaced the legacy P-card system tool some of you are used to. The Works application really provides for greater efficiency by way of an improved user experience. It is a web-based application with intuitive navigation. So it has what most of us are used to seeing, a main menu and a drop-down menu that it just presents you with a list of options to help you directly go to the pages you need to see, which means there are fewer clicks to complete your normal task. We're going to get into some of this a little bit later, but on your Works homepage, you have displayed action items, which are those tasks requiring your immediate attention. And you also have an accounts dashboard, which gives you a real-time summary of, let's say, just your account funding. So it'll tell you what your credit limit is, how much available credit you have, and what's your current balance. So for folks that were reconciling in what we call the legacy P-card system, one of the most requested enhancements is split allocation. So we have some P-card holders that they really transact for multiple departments, and it's no need for them to just eat the cost of the entire expense, right? So you want to be able to share that across the departments. So Works allows them to split allocation either by percentage or dollar amount. And I'm just like looking for the, ooh, that's a really good thing right now, right? Okay, so another good thing, and there are many about Works, is it maintains receipt images. So you can upload your receipts to Works and they will be maintained for 7 years, which is 2 years beyond the audit requirement. So you don't have a drawer full of receipts and later you're wondering, what is this for? The images are maintained in the Works system. And then for those of you who are approvers, if ever you look at a transaction that was signed off by your cardholder, it may have the wrong receipt attached to a transaction, or it's improperly allocated, or maybe there's additional information needed, you can flag that transaction back to the account holder for additional information. Now, yes, you can look at that as being rejected, but that's not a nice term, so we just say flag it back to the account holder. And then Works allows for greater reporting capability. So all users have access to standard account and spend activity reports. And depending on your level of access, there is additional reporting available, like audit and organization reports. You can create templates for customized reports. There are a lot of data elements contained in Works, and all of those data elements can be pulled into a report based on your needs. And if you find yourself frequently generating a report with the same data elements, and maybe you do it periodically, you can create a template and then schedule those reports to run either daily, monthly, quarterly, or if it's a billing statement, you can do it based on billing cycle. You can have a report run now or time it for a specific time to run later. I'm sorry, I know you were supposed to be clicking. I'm not cooperating right now. Okay, so here we're gonna talk about some of the policy updates really to add to the flexibility that I mentioned earlier. Now keep in mind, these are these are there are some restrictions to each of these that we lifted, but you have to really pay attention to the complete policy because there may be other requirements that you have to take into consideration. So conference registrations are now allowed on P-card. Key point, this excludes anything that is considered travel and entertainment related. So airfare, hotel, and meals, that portion of your conference cannot go on the purchasing card. Professional memberships, that includes subscriptions and journals. And then you have student travel. This has been one of the bigger questions or most frequently asked questions we've received really about student travel and why a pre-approval is necessary. Your P-card does not customarily allow for travel and entertainment expenses. So we have to make modifications to your account to allow those types of expenses. And also based on the estimated amount of the student travel, we may have to adjust the credit limit. And it also allows us to have a record of the changes we made, and that's most important to us. Equipment and space rental is allowed, but the terms and conditions require purchasing review. And then Lyft and Uber service is now allowed, but that's for those participating in clinical trial studies only. Yes.
Most of the conference registrations are foreign, and they don't take it out of the
Oh,
That's fine.
okay.
Will that ever change? No, they won't accept it. We have had 4 denied in the past 2 weeks because they said that our card would not pay them in US, would only pay them in US dollars.
We'll talk to the bank on that. Thank
Okay.
you. Because international transactions are, sorry, I don't have a mic. International transactions can certainly be processed. International transactions can certainly be processed. I don't know if that's a conference restriction, because certainly we have international transactions go on our cards all the time. So, but we'll check into that. If you hear about that again, please, whether it's email or whatever. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Our cards can be used internationally, though. You will see an international transaction fee. That's because very likely you're being invoiced in a currency that's not USD. And I think it's usually 1% or 0.75%. 0.8%, thank you. Which is pretty modest generally. Some of those higher transactions that can add up, but for an $800, an $8 fee is not that bad, right? So based on all the savings efficiencies that we have. So I would hope that would have been a conference specific restriction.
I have the mic. Okay, so now we're going to talk about stop playing with it. Because we get along so well. Okay, I'm not going to let him throw me off, but I'm going to talk about just some of the tips and best practices, and then I'll go into some of the frequently asked questions we received. As I'm going through this slide, I want you to remember that these things here are your friend. And unlike other friendships, I want you to use these to your advantage, okay? So your accounts dashboard, that helps you track detail of available spending. This is where you're able to see the credit limit and available credit on your account. The authorization log, this may come up again today. I'm giving you a hint. Remember this, the authorization log gives you a real-time status of the merchant category code and transaction activity. So if you experience a declined transaction, the authorization log is where you go to find out why that transaction was declined. If it happened to be because of a merchant category code, which we refer to as an MCC code, you'll be able to give that MCC code to Washin, who can help you out with that. The advanced filter, that is available on pages to account holders, group proxy reconcilers, group approvers. This allows you to narrow down the scope of the information that's displayed. So when you look at, depending on your role, when you look at your transaction page, you may have a lot of transactions on there. If you want to narrow it down by a date range or the account holder or an amount range, you can do that using the advanced filter. with receipts, you can store receipts now and attach later, because we've actually had a question with some people have a host of receipts and they don't want to hold on to those receipts, but the transactions aren't available for them to attach the receipts at that time. So they can upload the receipts at any time and put them in their store. Every user has access to a store that will hold the receipts, and when the transaction is available, you can pull the receipt from the store and attach it to a transaction. Works notifications. How many of you have your works notifications turned on? Everyone's hand should be up, in all honesty, because your works notification is like your first alert that there is a task pending your attention or pending action. So use the works notifications wisely. If you are a group proxy reconciler, that is a group responsibility, or a group approver, your notifications may list a lot of tasks for different people. That's your first indication. If there's a person that you're responsible for reconciling on behalf of, look at that works notification email and it'll tell you whether or not you need to log into works and reconcile a transaction. Yes?
I'm a proxy for notifications for like everybody who has a
Yes.
card in our thing. Can we turn that off?
Okay. Do not turn off your works notifications because it is a group responsibility. That is why you're receiving notifications for everyone in the group. But if you look at that email closely, it'll give you the list of names of the people who have items, and you can just give attention to those when you log into works.
And that's good. I don't want to, I just want
Yeah,
to know if
don't-
there's something like going, something like, you know, like that I could do it. If that's how the system works, that's fine.
Yeah.
Even if they don't pertain to me, I just didn't know.
That's how it works, and you can like modify the frequency of those notifications if you want, because we have them turned on for daily, because we want people to get used to the reconciliation process. If you don't need them to receive them daily, then you can change that setting, or you can have those emails just, you know, create a rule to route them to a different box. That may be really helpful. Okay, and then online help. Online help is available for on every screen in Works. If you're on a particular screen and you click on the online help, which is a question mark icon in the upper right corner of your screen, it'll give you information pertaining to that particular page. Oh, you don't have the clicker. Okay. So, okay, some frequently asked questions. How do I obtain a P card? Most of you in this room don't need the answer to that question, but there may be some people out there that'll ask you how to obtain a P card. You can tell them to submit a complete P card application to their Access Request Coordinator, also known as their ARC, and their ARC will approve that request if they so choose and make sure that it makes it to our office. Why was my P card declined? Question 1 for a pen. Where can you find out why your P card was declined? Authorization log. And two of the reasons why or one of these reasons is usually why it's declined. Either merchant category code is restricted or you just don't have enough money for that transaction. So it was based on your spending limit. And as an account holder, do I have to reconcile transactions? Simple answer, yes. Account holders must reconcile transactions in order for the funds used in those transactions to be returned to their account. So we have already experienced some people, maybe the account holder reconciled, but their group approver has not signed off yet. And so the funds used on those pending transactions have not been replenished to their account, and they may find themselves getting declined. Yes. Both need to sign off. All transactions require secondary approval. So as the account holder, which I'm assuming you are, I'm sorry? You're the approver. So the account holder or their assigned group proxy has to sign off first, and then you'll receive the transaction in your queue to sign off. They have to sign off as well. If you look at any of the P-card material we have out there, you look at the training material, you can look at the handbook, it mentions that the account holder or a group proxy has to sign off on that transaction in order for it to route to an approver. So you won't even have access to the transaction until that primary approval takes place.
If I have a group proxy and a group approver and I'm a card holder, do I have to approve it as well?
Oh, well, it's either the account holder or the group proxy has to sign off on that transaction. If you're the first to get to it and you as the account holder sign off,
You don't have to.
well, then you don't have to. If you have a group proxy to handle that for you, then let them take care of it.
I'll watch the transaction that you're assuring me
Mm-hmm.
so that I will log in for the deadline and check everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I'm.
Okay.
Is
Okay.
that okay?
That's okay. As long as someone signs off.
I don't know this process but we found that if you're a card holder and you sign off, then your proxies cannot.
Yes.
Will not receive.
Mm-hmm.
If you have proxies in place and you want them to do the reconciliation, I think that communication.
Yes, and that is like exactly what you said, a departmental process. That's not the way that we promote it to happen, but if that's the process your department established, then that's the process you should follow. Yes. Yes, they are. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As soon as a transaction is available for sign off, the proxies receive the same notifications as the account holder. You can look at a group proxy the same way you do an account holder. They're kind of playing the same role. Yes. One and the same, kind of. Okay, can I have both group proxy and group approver roles? No, you cannot, because, you know, every transaction requires a secondary approval. So, and also you look at it, that presents an audit risk because, you know, we've had questions. You have some approvers that say, well, sometimes I act as proxy for an account holder and sometimes I act as a group approver. Well, that sometimes is not always. And so if we allow you to do that, then it's going to definitely present an audit issue. And why does my transaction indicate sales tax included? There are actually three options there. You have sales tax included, you have a non-taxable purchase, and you have subject to use tax. We chose to have sales tax included as the default. If there is no sales tax included, you look at the tax amount, it's zero, not a problem. If there is sales tax included, that amount will show. And I get to turn it over to Washin. Thank you.
I am Hua, working for PICA office for over 12 years. Oh, okay. I'm just talking about the key allowable and the non-allowable charges on PICA. And recently, like a lot of people question about caterings. Caterings, if there's no contract or agreement involved, you can, you know, use PICA. Most time it's from the caterers and the restaurants. If there's a contract or agreement involved, you probably need to send to our contract office for review. Most likely, you need to create like $0 purchase order for them to review and return your contract agreement. And if it's less than $5,000, most likely they will send to us, like let you to put on PICA. But if it's large amount, you probably just need to go through purchase order. Conference registration, as Celeste already mentioned, yeah, this is recently released. You can put on PICA. Yeah, in the past, we do have like a couple declined from foreign vendor. But when I check their real-time transaction log, those professional associations supposed to host those conference, they send to travel agency. That's why it's declined. But I don't feel comfortable to release travel agency merchant code. I don't know if you go to Spain, what kind of activity you will, put on your P card there. That's the reason. But majority of the conference registration should be fine. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
So I don't know that this necessarily falls under conference registration.
Uh-huh.
But what about if like a graduate school recruiting, they're not necessarily receiving content. I don't know if the conference, but can those be?
Is it like a booth? Like you have a booth? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And professional membership dues, that's you can put on P-card, but not Amazon premium membership. That is not professional membership. And rentals is similar, like if there's no contract or agreement, you can just go ahead, put on P-card, including that booth rental. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, yes. Yeah. Yeah, Uber rides for research, clinical trials, that's fine. But this, you have to apply a special P-card. We set up for Uber only. Yeah, not like regular P-card. If you already got P-card, you probably need to apply another one just for Uber only. And yeah, like the card holder actually is responsible for the arrangement for your patient. If they come here for the research, and then
Was the question, would you give the driver that card?
So my worry is with students in trial subjects, how would they get the F-100?
yeah, that person. Yeah, that person holding that car need to arrange that Uber travel rides. And then there's a dashboard actually managed by our contract office, track all those information. Yeah, that's how it works.
I believe the ride service provides special engagement tool to request the travel. So just reach out to us if you have more detailed questions. Christy Baldridge on the.
How do we know that they only use it?
Oh, so the only people who will know the account will be someone who's essentially managing it within. No one else will have access to the Uber or Lyft account or the P card. So it'll be managed. Just specifically on that, if there's a lot more details involved, reach out to us, and Christy Baldridge on the purchasing team knows the ins and outs and can get any unit who needs that service set up with Uber.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And student travel is allowed, but need pre-approval. And if you have like student travel, you can send us a request. That form is online, and we can take a look at it and approve it. And then we set up the merchant code, release those for you during that travel period only. Mm-hmm.
Is that just undergraduate or is that also graduate students?
Both. Mm-hmm. Subscriptions, it's been allowed for a while.
Sorry, going back,
Mm-hmm.
you said something that is critical to me right now. You said you will release the merchant code for travel for a period.
Mm-hmm.
So that triggers me that I have a staff member that they do student travel with the student. They want to request, they want to get authorization, but they want it for the whole academic year. So you said when it's just one period, can you explain further like what you mean by that?
Yeah, we review the student travel case by case. You can't just say, hey, we need this for the whole semester. That will not happen here. Yeah.
let's talk about that. If it's an ongoing request, I think in many cases it's a trip with a set of students or one student, and it's infrequent. If there's a requirement that is consistently one faculty member has student travel all the time, let's look at it on a case-by-case situation and see what solution. We may not, but let's look at it.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a student travel approved, how does that work with like the students leaving the hotel and they can bill, give them the P-card number?
No.
This is only going to be for airfare.
Yeah.
So it's just covered airfare, so it's not hotel.
Yeah. We
could put it on no hotel if the hotel will take the P card via phone or whatever. Sometimes many hotels require you to show the payment method in person. So if they're willing to take it over the phone, we can use it for hotel. Anything else, walking around money, you need to use your traditional processes for that.
Okay, let's look at the non-allowable items on P-card. In restaurant dining, yeah, now we release the restaurant code, but you cannot go to the restaurant. Okay, I just sit down here like for lunch or dinner, no. Yeah, we will monitor those two codes and run a report every month. And gift cards or gift certificates are not allowed on P-card. And accounting service, cash management, they have a gift card program. If you need, you can just go to accounting, get gift card for your like research study students or patients. Accounting service, cash management. Items available on ePros. Yeah, most time you need to go through ePro first. If there's urgent needs and you can get the item as soon as you need, you can probably, use P-card. You may put like documentation, explain why. Purchase greater than $5,000. Yeah, because our single transaction limit maximum for the university is $5,000. So you cannot go beyond that dollar amount unless if it's emergency, we can send your request to the state for approval.
What you all might consider emergency, the state nor we may consider an emergency. So it's got to be an emergency. Okay.
Alcohol and tobacco is not allowed. Cash advance is blocked on P-card. Split transaction, yeah, we run the report every month. Like if you pay the same vendor on the same day and you split transaction, like one you put 4,000, the other you put 3,000, we will ask you why. Employee travel is not allowed on P-card. Of course, personal items. Mm-hmm.
For the bullet about ePro items that are available through ePro,
Mm-hmm.
Staples,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we find things that are similar to things on ePro, but it's not what the investigator wants, and we need to so is the similar item but not exactly the same?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And by the way, eventually when Amazon Business is available through ePro, you can buy office supplies through Amazon. We hope that drives more competition for Staples and other ePro vendors. So yes.
And if you have any questions, you can just call us or email us. We will get back to you normally within 24 hours. And you can go to our website and find forms and, training links. Yeah.
So if we have a conference where we're hosting a reception and we're making arrangements with the site to take the cost of that is the process that we do need to route it through the review as a purchase order and in order to be put on the card? How does that work?
You mean if that space rental involve a contract agreement? Yeah, you probably, if it's like lower amount, under 5,000, yeah, you probably just need to create $0 purchase order for our contract office to review and return, and then you can use P-card.
Basically, no one on campus has the authority to sign vendor contracts or authorize a contract aside from purchasing. So most likely in that situation, there's going to be a contract, right? The host is going to require, whoever's has the space is going to require a contract with,
And we usually set it up with the PO through.
yeah.
The question is, how is that then, how is this made easy?
So what you could do is you still may submit a $0 rec for Mark to review the contract. Once he's signed off on the contract, you can remit payment via P card. So that it doesn't. So there's two separate things, right? Purchasing P cards can be used for the purchase and the payment, which kind of sounds like the same thing, but it's not. But if there's a contract involved, then you have two different steps. You have the contracting, then you have the payment, right? So it'll still help a little bit. It won't save us the full $50 to $70 in processing, but because there's a contract required. But if that's a vendor setup we don't have to worry about, that's helpful for campus as well as for our team. Okay. Let's see. We'll go to any other questions, and then I'll pass the mic around. Yes.
I don't have a question, I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
I have spent a great deal amount of time helping people navigate the work. Your training is great, but I think we have different people at different departments and education, and not everyone is very computer savvy. I think it would be wonderful if you guys can come up with a reference card that can help the person navigate through the system, like a check by check. Just that we have in other finance training, that we have like quick reference cards, because we spend a great deal of time, and people are getting frustrated, and across the board, in different departments, people are just not to use their P card, just so they don't have.
Okay.
There were actually a couple documents.
In addition to the training.
Super helpful,
Yeah.
very user friendly. I followed it step by step, no problem.
Because in addition to the computer-based training that's out there, there are quick reference guides,
Yeah.
and we created those simply for them to be able, if you just navigate to the finance, navigate to the finance page, and it'll take you to procurement, and one of the first accordions is for the purchasing card documents. In addition to policies or application forms or anything, there's a training link. If you look at that training link, the same way that folks are accessing the CBTs, they'll also be able to access the quick reference guide. That quick reference guide is like a step-by-step on just reconciling your basic transaction. Keep that handy, keep it on your desk, it'll walk them through it. It's a one-page document, or two, maybe flip it over.
Because we have people from facilities, they're wonderful, but they're not computer savvy.
Mhm.
And they're going, they're extremely frustrated. And that's one of the things that's a great concern. Can I email you guys and you can tell me what the link is, or just navigate?
If you email Wa, she'll send you directly to the link. Yeah.
Yes, for delivery or, thank you. So the question was on like things like Panera or pizza or whatever. If they're delivering or you're going and picking it up, bring it back for an event, yes, that's fine. Yeah, right, whatever. The only thing we would ask, if there's a larger event that requires a contract, then route it through our office, and Christy Baldridge would take a look at it. It used to be Mark Stillman in the past. Christy was recently hired to cover that sort of thing as well. If there's a contract routed through us, we could still very likely, if it's under 5K, pay for it via P card. Correct.
If you do, invite me.
Will do.
On that same line, do you have to also upload a business expense?
It's not I don't think it's not our requirement, is it?
Well, in order to reconcile a transaction.
Yeah, I think you're talking about a specific memo. Is there so we require, only thing we require in the P card tool, as far as I know, is there's a pop-up box, whether it's the account holder or the group proxy reconciler, at the very end before you sign off on a transaction that asks you to type business justification. You don't need to type a novel, but it just should be, this is lunch for the XYZ managers meeting in whatever, right, on 10/18/2018. Right, exactly. So I can't speak to any OSR requirements or any your own departmental requirements, but for the P card, we don't require a form to justify the food. Yes, it's a text box that just has business purpose, and it doesn't need to, again, not need to be a novel, but it needs to be sufficient enough. Like I said, lunch for the XYZ meeting on 10/18, good enough for me. Right? Not in ours. Not in ours. Not in. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not in ours. Do you? Yeah. Yes. Thanks, Tony. Do you have a question?
So this is a little bit of a setup going back to the account holders and
Yeah.
officers. We've got a team of the two of us at the botanical garden, and so just some confusion with the setup. What we're trying to accomplish is getting all of the receipts to come through one person, and then I was going to be the group proxy, Lisa was going to approve, which would work, except that we're also supposed to have a P card. So yeah, we're also supposed to have one for the office. But I'm an account holder and approve. So no one can approve for cards. Would it work if proxy also a card holder? Would that solve the problem?
You want to have them
Reach
out to Celeste. Reach out to Celeste. We'll tell you what the options are. It could get a little kludgy, but we'll work through that. Yes.
In our office, I and my supervisor are both group proxies and approvers.
Yeah.
So I will approve for my proxy people, but then I can't approve
Yeah.
for her. If she does it, then I can't do both.
Yes, there are solutions, but every department has kind of, I didn't want to get in, thank you very much. I didn't want to get into all the kind of iterations on how we could work through that. Okay. There were a few more. Yes. End of the cycle. Oh, we changed it back to that? Okay. I apologize. The question was, now, do you mean, okay, the question was, are the funds replenished back to, the question is to your monthly credit limit? See, I think that's a monthly thing, the monthly credit limit.
Well, you're not allowed to exceed your monthly credit limit, but the funds, they're replenished to the account, but they still won't allow you to go over your monthly credit limit.
So it flips back over at each credit cycle for the monthly credit limit.
And what if I spend all my money up front in a month?
Yeah.
I have to wait.
Okay, well, then we can have a conversation of, do we need to, like, we're not determining everyone's credit limit. If you need a higher credit limit for your card and it's on legitimate stuff, let us know and we can bump up the credit limit. That's not, please don't let your monthly credit limit stop you from using your card for reasons we should be using our card. That's something we should have maybe included in our presentation. I apologize for that. But we absolutely can raise monthly credit limits for cards that have a lot of spend going through them. Maybe one office has only one card and one card holder is a power user. Excuse me, account holder is a power user. I use card holder and account holder as this interchangeably, so hopefully it doesn't confuse anyone. There was another, yes.
It seems like there's 3 different places to enter information about classification purpose. And as a recruiter, I see description boxes. It looks like it's autofill.
Yeah, so there's a description box that could be sufficient. That'll be up to you all. We don't require that they update the description box, right?
We don't require you update the description box, but it should clearly state what it was you purchased. Because I know I had a conversation with someone the other day, and it really depends on the, we are really picky about this, Mike. It really depends on the merchant, and the transaction actually came in and all it said was UPS store. And so we want that to be changed. Did you buy boxes, stamps? What did you buy at the UPS store? And then your business justification will give the purpose for that purchase.
Description is what you bought. The comments box at the end is why you bought it.
When I was at the CBM training earlier, they said that once you reconcile the cards, then falling into the CBM, the journal entry post. And I know at a previous training, you said that we might be able to reconcile the key card and have it be done maybe weekly instead of monthly. One of the issues with grants is that you're gonna have a whole bunch of charges that you're gonna have to cover for the post. The CBM is only set up to go once a month. So it's that, both of them have to be able to be done weekly or. And I also told that if something failed budget check, it's gonna hit our department default, not the default account set up for the card.
I'm not sure about the CBM process. Initially, we are going to be sending the reconciled P card transactions on a monthly basis through that next process. Again, I don't know the CBM process well enough and the frequency and all that stuff, but ideally, I think we shared with you and when we came over and visited at Lineberger that we hope to get to a more frequent submission so that it hits the GL, but I don't know what the other processes that we use would limit that, how that would limit that. So we're hopeful that we can get to more frequently than monthly passing that through. Yeah, oh, hey, there we go. Okay, thanks, Michelle. Yes. Yes, any account that has a UNC email address is going to be turned off by Amazon. We have to go through the punch out going forward. And you, by the way, you're going to get more benefits going through the UNC ePro account than you would going through your own individual account anyway. Okay. And by the way, we're shooting for November. We're still at the pilot program now, and it's not just we're trying to make sure that everything works. There are some hiccups there, so we're hoping for November, but it's not a firm commitment. We're trying our best, working with IT and with our partners. It has to go. The transactions have to go from Amazon to Visa to Bank of America back to us at much more detail than traditional P card purchases would have to reconcile those. Thank you very, very much.